My name is Dr. Tim Wesley, and this is my third time around running for this particular office. I ran in 2016. At the time, there were about 6 Democrats, 3 Republicans, 1 Green Party, 1 Libertarian, and I was able to secure the Republican nomination at that time. 2018, I ran again, and I ran unopposed, and so I was just in the race. If you voted during that time and you're in a portion of Wilson County down in Stockdale, you probably saw my name. You should have. And so with that being said, my concern is still the same. I'm concerned about our veterans and how they're being treated. I'm concerned about veterans' health care. I am an Army veteran, 7 years active duty, one at HUA, and one in the Texas National Guard. And not only am I an Army veteran, but also I've taught veterans for the last almost 10 years. I'm an educator. I've gone from the classroom as far as public schools. I've been a 5th grade teacher at one point, 7th and 8th grade math and science teacher at one point in San Antonio ISD. And for almost the last 10 years, I've been an educator in higher learning. I've taught at the University of Phoenix local campus and taught as far as San Antonio, Houston, Fort Hood, Texas area, and I currently continue to do that job. In addition, I work currently at San Antonio College, and I'm taking care of their financial literacy program for the entire school. And with that being said, I talk to students all the time about the student loan debt, which is about $1.5 trillion and climbing. And so it was nowhere near that point when I started running in 2016. So those are some of the things I want to address. I'm a family man, been married almost 25 years, have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. And so I understand the importance of family and focusing on the family. Some of the things I want to do moving forward are the things I've been fighting for the longest. If you look at my track record, people ask, well, who is Tim Wesley? I said the same thing in 2016, I'll say now, Google me. I'm probably one of the most transparent persons you will find. If you were to Google me, as I told people in the past, if you Google me, you're probably gonna end up voting for me. You're probably gonna support me. No matter who you came to support, you'll probably support Tim Wesley. And it's not to say anything in an arrogant way, but I believe in what I'm doing and I'm fighting for a reason. Someone asked me today, I had a reporter to call me and asked, why am I running? He basically asked, why am I running? And so as I explained to him, I said, CD15, right now as it stands, is the corridor. If we were to look at any particular district and find out where's the major problem when it comes down to border security issues, everything is coming through CD15. They're the busiest port, the busiest area we have throughout the United States. Our Border Patrol agents are stretched. And so why CD15? Simply because we have had the same Democratic leadership for 116 years. There is a door that's wide open. And so for me, being a soldier, a former soldier, I know that we have to secure that door. If we do not secure that door and if we do not secure our borders, then we're going to continue to have problems with our small businesses not wanting to locate in that area. And throughout the state of Texas, we're going to continue to spend the enormous amounts of money that we're spending. And people don't realize how much we're spending. We're spending on average $134 billion per year. That's on the low end. And some will argue and say, well, some of the people are paying taxes. Let's subtract that. That still puts us at $120 billion per year. And if you were to look at that, that equates to $2.4 billion per state that they can have every year. Can you imagine if each state had $2.4 billion to address things like homelessness, to address things like childhood poverty, etc.? That money is there. We have to begin to focus on the United States of America and focus on Texas. And that's why I love America first. I also love Texas first. I also love citizens first, citizens of this nation, of this state. And as we look at it, that equates, people say, well, that's still not a lot of money. When I tell you that it's $365 million per day, how many of you, by show of hands, could figure out something to do with $365 million per day? By show of hands, could you figure out something good to do to fix the problems, not only in the state of Texas, but throughout our nation if we had that amount of money? That's what we're spending. And so we have to close that gap. We have to close it. People say, well, is it that much of a problem? Absolutely is a problem. We have almost 1 million people coming into this nation illegally every single year here recently. That's a lot of people. And so we keep hearing the same number tossed around. When I started running for office in 2016, they said, oh, it's about 11 million people that's here illegally. Well, they keep saying about the same number, but if we keep adding 1 million per year on average, then it's not 11 million. And those are just low estimates. The estimates, as one school looked, is close to 17,000. 17 million that is. And so with that being said, how is it costing us? It's costing us because right now, when it comes down to asylum issues, and these are things I want to address when I get to Congress. Now, we'll digress to progress and let you all know when I get to Washington, God willing, and I'm not running against Vicente Gonzalez yet. I'm running against Ryan Krause first. I have one election I need to win first. Ryan Krause and whoever else is on that list, I have to put first thing first. I'm from Louisiana, and we had a country saying, don't put the wagon before the horse, okay? And so with me, that's what I want to do. Make sure we do it the right way. And so as we press forward, we have 328 ports of entry. 328 ports of entry, legal ports of entry. But over 90% of the people do not come through those legal ports of entry. They come through other means in between the ports of entry. So do we have a problem? Absolutely we have a problem. And guess what? Of the 10% of the people that do go through the legal ports of entry, 90% of them will not show up at asylum hearings. Think about that. Only 10% going through the right way, and 90% of the 10% don't show up to asylum hearings. And right now, most people don't realize there's about a 1,000-day wait for an asylum hearing. 1,000-day wait. We can fix that. The Congress can fix that. I plan to go to Washington with a plan to fix that. We have to hire more immigration judges. How are we going to hire more immigration judges? If we look at the standards and the requirements to be an immigration judge, what can we do? We have many law schools around here, and people will tell you, attorneys will tell you, not all of us are wealthy. Not all of the attorneys are rich. And so what does that mean? Some of them are underemployed and they need employment. Why not start targeting those attorneys who will end up with a huge amount of student loan debt? Why not target them and say, guess what? If you become an immigration judge, serve some time here, we can increase the number of immigration judges that we have. We can begin to clear those problems that we have, the 1,000-day wait, we can cut that down, and we can begin to ship people out here quicker. Now, the things I share with you, it's not hearsay. I've been fortunate enough to tour the border with Border Patrol agents, not once, but multiple times. And as I toured the border with these agents, I heard from them firsthand what they need. People always say, well, I think we need that, I think we need that. I'm a PhD. I'm a PhD in educational leadership, so I understand the value of research, but you can only research so much without speaking to the source. Yeah. I spoke to the sources on more than one occasion. And what does the source say they need? The source say, of course, they need additional bodies, boots on the ground. But they also say, if you get boots on the ground and you do not uphold this thing that I hold in my hand, the United States Constitution, Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, which says that with this great republic that we have, we're going to make sure we secure it. If you do not uphold this, it's like waving a carrot on the other side, and people are going to continually come into this nation illegally. So we have to uphold the Constitution. Not only do we uphold the Constitution, but we must make sure that we have some solutions to help our agents. One of the things that disturbed me the most, the agent said, you know what we do most of the time? So what do? Many of us are changing diapers. We're warming food. We're doing things like that instead of being out there in the field. And keep in mind, most of the agents are trying to get out there, but they can't because they're doing these things. My solution, with my minute that's left, is to get the veterans, recently released veterans, honorably discharged. Let's bring them in as lower level GS workers. We already know they're ready to serve this country. Let them serve this country again. Allow them to be the processors. Allow them to work hand in hand with Border Patrol. We're going to do a couple things. It may ignite within them the spirit to serve as agents, but it also relieves our highly trained agents to be able to get back out in the field and do their jobs. And we also must end any type of catch and release. And we must make sure we have mandatory, and I do mean mandatory detention and deportation. Again, my name is Dr. Tim Wesley, and I'm ready for your questions. Yes, sir.
Same question, veterans, VA. What is your plan to fix it? Or do you even see that it's an issue?
Absolutely, it is an issue. I must tell you a story. September 24th, 2017. On that particular day, I found myself, it was a Sunday, I found myself in the VA hospital. And the reason I was in the VA hospital, I have a friend of mine. I pastored a church for 13 years as a senior pastor up until February of this year. My associate pastor went into the hospital about 7 years prior. And when he went into the hospital, he went into a VA hospital in San Antonio, Texas, Audie Murphy VA. He never came out. He went in, and because of insufficient care, not once, but multiple times, and I was able to see that insufficient care because I was the one there complaining about making sure he gets the care he needs, he found himself having a heart attack in one of the restrooms at the VA facility. At the time, he was about close to 400 pounds, and most people did not want to tend to him. And so I get a call and said, hey, he had a heart attack. He went without oxygen for several minutes. Because of that, he found himself in a debilitated state where he was likely not going to be able to get out of VA ever. And so for 7 years, we were on the edge. He's gonna live, he's gonna live, he's gonna die, he's gonna die. And so on that day in 2017 of September, I remember telling my wife, because again, being a spiritual man, something came over me, and I know it was the Spirit of God. Said, go and visit your friend again, because I visited him in the VA hospital as frequently as possible. That day, I went. I remember one thing taking place. Went in, and he was not able to speak at this time. And I told him, I said, I think it's about that time. I prayed about it, and you look like you're ready to go. And I did the 23rd numbers of Psalms with him. Well, within a few hours, he passed away. They had told us he was dying a couple of times. Within a few hours, he passed away. That night in the VA hospital, I'll never forget it. The United States flag covered a cart that they had him on, metal cart that they had him on, and basically with that flag draped over it, he and his wife marched his remains through the VA hospital as taps played. So for me, it's personal. When I say that I want to fight for our veterans, most don't know. One report from 2015 said we had at least 300,000 veterans to die waiting for service. I know as an Army vet because I get treatment at the VA hospital. That's why I wear these wings, these air assault wings. I've torn up a lot of things, repelling from helicopters. And so I know firsthand how long we have to wait to get care. I'm going there as a veteran that's gone through that problem. And I'm going there to fight because I said, not on my watch will another vet die in that sense. And so I will go there to fight to make sure that the 30,000 vacancies that we have there, and most don't know this, we have about 30,000 vacancies there when it comes down to the doctors, nurses, etc. 30,000 vacancies. But we still have veterans waiting. We have to fill those. And how do we do it? We begin to deregulate, and we begin to tell the people at the top, guess what? You're no longer going to be safe. So when you're not doing your job, we're not moving you to another one. We're getting rid of you.
Hoorah.
There we go.
Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Next question. Yes, sir.
Okay, I have 4 questions, but let me ask you just 6. This is, how did they determine 30,000 vacancies?
Again, being a PhD, keep in mind research comes, so they've done their research, and so based on the information that I received, again, this is coming through the GAO, Government Accountability Office.
And that's throughout the United States, not BAMC.
This is throughout the U.S.
What's
And
the
BAMC
BAMC?
again,
What's the BAMC?
it's not going to be BAMC. BAMC is going to be something that serves your retirees for the most part.
That's
But
active duty hospital.
absolutely. Active duty and for retirees, but the VA hospital here locally would be your Audie Murphy VA hospital.
How many do you think are needed there?
I'm not sure. I don't have those numbers, but we can easily get them from the Government
How
Accountability
old was
Office.
the fellow that died that you were talking about?
He was 52.
52. Did they purposely not treat him because of his age?
No, his weight was an issue. Now, I'll give you a quick, brief background on that. On one particular Sunday, again, I was his senior pastor. I was taking him communion on the first Sunday of that month in January. I took him communion. I could not find him in his room. He was in the room with 3 other people. His bed was vacant. I asked, where's my friend? They said, we think that he's in the restroom. I went and I saw the red light blinking at the Audie Murphy VA, and I went to the front desk and I said, hey, I think my friend's in the restroom. He needs help. They still did not move. 5 minutes passed. I said, I think my friend's in there. He needs help. They made a call. Another 3 minutes passed, and at that point, I got quite irate with him. And I said, you're going to go check. Someone's going to go and check right now. I believe he's in there, and he needs help. I can't get in there. At that point, they went, and sure enough, he was in there. Second thing happened, same thing, very similar. But this time, a few months later, he had a heart attack. And I believe because of his weight, almost 400 pounds or so, they did not want to tend to him. And so they neglected to care for the patient, this veteran, U.S. Army veteran, like they should have.
Okay, now moving to the border situation.
Yes, sir.
You said that there is
28 legal ports of entry.
legal ports
Throughout
of
the
entry,
US.
And in that, there's holes that X amount of people come due to the catch and release. 10% of them go and report.
Yes.
I have done reporting on that. Now, my question is, how are you gonna change that? What's the step?
Again, we have to uphold our Constitution. Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, we have to uphold it. And so that's been the problem. If we stop any form of catch and release, if we send a strong message out to the United States that we're going to have mandatory detention and mandatory deportation, if we begin to send these strong messages, people will be less likely to be encouraged to come across our borders. And so we have to make sure we uphold that Constitution. We have to listen to our agents We have to make sure we put the wall up. They said, well, the wall won't work. Look in El Paso, Texas. In that region, when the wall went up, the amount of illegal immigrants coming across went down drastically, and we're talking well over 80%. And so that wall, that structure, whatever they want to call it, it works, and our agents have proven that it works. And so those are some of the things we have to do. We also have to make sure, and most people don't know this is a problem, when it comes to vegetation and things of that nature, we have agents that cannot see people coming in across the Rio Grande River. We have agents that cannot see because of vegetation. And sure, we want to protect the butterflies, absolutely. But we want to protect the agents, and we want to protect our borders, and we want to protect citizens of the state of Texas and our nation. So we have to use the intelligence that we have within the U.S. Congress to say we can come up with solutions to make sure we wipe away some of these things that's blocking our agents' visibility and putting them in harm's way and still get the job done. So those are just a few of the things that we're going to do when we get to Washington. Yes, sir.
With the total breakdown of the Venezuelan government, Nicolas Maduro is still there, and the domino effect it has on the neighboring countries, how are we going to stop mass migration and also to contain the situation there in Venezuela from crossing our borders?
Well, a couple of things. The mass migration, we have to continue to follow the lead of the president. The president knows that in order to get to the United States, you have to go through a nice little place called Mexico. And so we have to make sure we continue to put pressure on the Mexican government to protect their southern borders so that people are not traveling through. We have to make sure as well we continue to put forth efforts to say, hey, the first country you get to, that's the country you should be applying for asylum in. And we have to make sure, again, that we secure our borders. So all the things I mentioned still apply. If we have mass migration coming, it still apply. Immediate deportation, making sure we increase the number of agents. Our U.S. Constitution authorizes us 21,000 agents right now. I advocated for an additional 2,500 agents right when the president was elected. I had a petition going. We got the 2,500 agents. Was it because of Dr. Tim Wesley? Who knows? But I know I sent things to the White House, including that petition, right? For that amount of agents, right? And so with that being said, we have to continue to do the things that we see is working, stop the catch and release, things of that nature, and make sure people have a strong message sent to them that if you do not uphold our laws, if you come breaking our laws, you will be punished, and we'll make sure it's done expeditiously. Yes, sir.
Keystone legislation, and what would you be willing to compromise to attain?
I'll say it in 27 seconds. Key thing is going to be border security. That's going to be number one issue because it not only affects Texans, it affects the entire United States. And so we've heard about DACA. Mr. Crawley here mentioned DACA. I've already sent a plan to the White House and gotten a response from the President of the United States. I've already gotten a response with the DACA plan that I sent to them, and I'll go in detail more on that DACA plan because I have 3 seconds left, but I've already addressed that. And that was my meeting in the middle to be able to say from the left, these are some of the things that we can do. And so my plan is detailed, and that will be available on my website as well within 48 hours for anyone that wants to see it.